How do you develop the perfect exercises when you want to develop your skills in this area? When you want to have your left hand be as strong, as accurate and precise and fast as possible? Well, the first thing you need to focus on is when you develop exercises, because exercises are great. And what are exercises? Well, they're basically, instead of playing sequences and licks, you play an exercise because that exercise has a lot of the challenges of your left hand built into it. So instead of practicing a sequence that has, a random number of challenges of moving back and forth between the fourth and third finger or first and second, then instead you take an exercise and you put as many challenges in there as possible. So when you practice, the core challenges of your left hand. And that's the first thing that you need to look at. What's most difficult here, and what are my challenges, and then design exercises that really target those. And secondly, you need the exercises to be going from a low level of complexity to a high level of complexity, and from easy to harder, of course, right? Because the more challenges you take on at one time, the harder it's going to get and the longer it's going to take you to get there. Just like the analogy with, fighting a huge guy with tons of muscles, you're going to lose, right, if he's bigger than you. But if you separate that huge guy up into small guys, 7 small guys, it's pretty easy to, win the fight. Because taking things one step at a time, just in little bites, will actually get you there much faster than trying to grab, or bite over too much. And your brain is going to tell you that, okay, the challenge is huge. You need to take in a lot of stuff at one time. But it's counterintuitive to just build on one layer on top of each other. But you have to do that consciously. And that's why you have to go from the easier part to the harder part, from the less complex to the more complex. And we talked about, if you haven't watched the previous videos, please do so. We talked about how this is a natural movement of the hand, that wavy, either one direction or the other. And that when you start, moving your hands or fingers in a more complex way and demanding that they all be independent, then suddenly the challenges really rise in complexity, and it's going to be harder and harder to do them. And so you need to start from the simple to the more complex, and that's a challenge too. And you develop these exercises to follow these principles. The third principle is that I always hated exercises that I couldn't use in a musical context. So if I had to do, I hated that, because when am I going to play in a musical context? Mostly not, right? So my third rule for developing really cool exercises that's going to get you to the place you want to go the fastest way possible is not to waste your time playing exercises that contain stuff that you really wouldn't ever use. That's an okay exercise, but mostly I do exercises that consist only of 3 positions or three notes and combinations between them, because that's what I mostly do when I'm playing scales. So if you follow these 3 rules, you will create exercises that are really, really effective and that will get you there much faster. So you compress time, basically. And so please, just look at the rules again here on the screen, and then think about the next time you accept an exercise into your life and you start practicing it, does it actually comply with these rules of effectiveness or efficiency? Because if it doesn't, you're really faced with having to practice a lot of stuff that will just, you're just waiting basically until you can practice something that is of high value. So make sure that you're practicing something of high value by really focusing on, is it on the right level, or is this too hard? Are there too many challenges in here? Does this remind me of something I've tried playing before? So it's just a step up from that, or is it just something totally right? So, and is it something I can use in the future? And how far is it from the natural movement of up and down waves in your hand, and how complex is it? So those are the rules, and I really hope you'll apply them before you take on an exercise in the future.